It's a Thursday on afl.com.au, the day after an Anzac epic. Hello everyone, I'm Matt Thompson. We thought we'd get some thoughts from Lee Matthews on this because it was a huge day at the MCG and a few other issues bubbling around as well. Lee, thank you so much for your time. Good to see you.
Yeah, great day.
What a match. It always lives up to the hype, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't always live up to the hype. But this year it did. I mean, I think last year and the year before, Collingwood just creamed Essendon, but it lived up to the hype yesterday. It's probably this, because it's a standalone game, it's become, in Melbourne, not a national thing. The Melbourne people get a bit Melbourne-centric about it. But in Melbourne, it's second only to the grand final, no doubt about that. And yesterday it was just a close game, close scores. It was a terrific contest.
I'm intrigued by that because I think it does live up to the hype in the sense that every year we get a massive crowd and a massive build-up. You think sometimes it's a letdown between these two teams, do you?
Oh yeah, well, like was it 2011 or 2010, Collingwood won by about 10 or 15 goals. I mean, the game itself is not always a fantastic game, but quite often it has been, and certainly I was involved in the first one in '95, which was the big crowd, the draw. Sav Rocker kicked 9 goals, like a fantastic occasion. But the occasion is always fantastic, but the 2 hours of footy, well, that varies a bit from year to year.
Fair call. You are the expert. Let's talk about these two teams then. Do they deserve the right to continue playing on this stage?
Well, my fair sense of fair play says no. As I say, it's a Melbourne thing, so I don't forget about the non-Melbourne teams. But my view would be, it's been going for now 17 years, so there is a tradition. So the longer it goes, the harder it is to change the tradition. But my view is the top 2 Melbourne teams from the previous season should get the right to play the Anzac Day game.
All right, strong views on that front. What about video review technology? Nathan Buckley firing up about that post-match, very unhappy with the situation with Goldsack. We also saw high drama towards the end of the match. What do you make of it?
A lot of things get blown out of proportion in footy these days, and this is one of them. I mean, what happened? The goal umpire thought it touched the post. The video replay was inconclusive, so he went with his original thought, that it touched the post. That's the system.
Fair call.
Well, it's simple, really. I mean, if sometimes people want 100%. I mean, sometimes the vision doesn't give you 100% certainty, so therefore you go with what the on-field officials' call is. And I get amused sometimes. I mean, it's a bit like if we spend $1 million to get it 99% right, would we spend another $10 million to get 100% right? And the fact is the video review system is not perfect because the vision is not perfect, but it gives a much better chance of getting the best or the correct end result than it did before the video replay system.
It might be hard for you because you're watching often from the commentary box.
Yeah.
Do you think that fans at the ground get a fair deal in terms of the video review?
That's probably a fair point because on the television coverage you can even hear the discussions between the officials upstairs. But that's only a communication issue. Like, can you actually get it on the stadium PA? But when there's 90,000 people yelling, it's pretty hard to hear people. So that's the problem. Maybe there's a better system of getting the process, I guess, on the scoreboard somehow or other, so that the people at the ground are, completely informed as the viewers on the TV are.
Let's turn our attention to a couple of other issues in footy, in particular sliding. I sat through the tribunal case during the week. I sat through the Goods one as well. I know you were very strong on Adam Goods. What did you think of the Lindsay Thomas call?
Well, I think if you're second to the ball, and if you're second to the contest and you go in feet first, then it's automatic, and that's what Adam Goods did. If you're first to the footy, as Lindsay Thomas was, and you slide in, well, we're getting in really grey areas here. I thought it was close enough to accidental that he should have got off. I can understand the match review panel prima facie case, found him guilty, but the system says you can go to the tribunal, and if I'd been on the tribunal, I would have thought it was, if it's negligent, he's guilty, but I don't think it was negligent, I think it was accidental. But it is a little bit of a grey area, but clearly if you're second to the contest and you slide in feet first, it is completely black and white. You are guilty. But if you're sliding in to get the footy and you inadvertently run into another player, well, footy's grey. We'd like black and white, but it's a bit grey sometimes.
Do you think we're going to notice more and more players actually being a little bit apprehensive and perhaps pick up sometimes where they might have slid, but they've decided to do something else?
That's what the rules are saying. Be careful when you slide. In other words, just don't be negligent or careless when you slide. It's interesting, about 10 years ago when the international rules started to be played, of course in Gaelic footy and international rules you can't take possession of the football unless you're on your feet. And when that was suggested in the AFL 10 years ago, I thought, that's totally ridiculous. Right now, you think to yourself, What would it do to the game if you could only actually take possession of the ball if you're on your feet? That if you're on the ground, you had to knock it clear. Funny enough, we're getting closer to that because there's so many bodies around the footy that encouraging players to stay on their feet is probably what the game is wanting them to do.
Would that be bad in the long term, do you think?
Well, I've thought about it. I thought 10 years ago I would have thought it was ridiculous, but there's so many bodies around the ball now and the ball gets caught. I mean, people have often said to me, the great thing about the AFL is you always know where the ball is. Like rugby union, the ball disappears. No one knows where the ball is. And in the AFL, now, often the ball disappears. We just can't see it because there's so many bodies over the footy. So I'm not sure whether the game would be terribly worse off if you said don't take possession. I think there'd be less packs and that'd be good for footy.
Just finally, boarding a plane to Perth, the Dockers
Yeah.
again get centre stage on a Friday night. This is a close one, a tough one to call against the Blues.
Well, absolutely. They were good enough to beat St Kilda last week in a close game, and Carlton had a real downer against Essendon. They just didn't come up really, and I think they were a good team, Carlton. But I think whenever there's a 50-50 bet in a interstate game, a game between two sides from different states, you go for the home state team. So Fremantle are going okay. Question is, can Aaron Sandlin's can his hit-out domination be turned into clearance domination for the Fremantle Dockers? If they can ever get that done, they are going to be a top 4 team.
Thanks for your time, Lee. We'll hear from you soon on afl.com.au.
Thanks, Matty.